It's a great day for reading and celebrating a beloved local author. Hello and welcome to Checked Out. We're broadcasting from Euclid Public Library in beautiful Euclid, Ohio. I'm Jean Robinson, multimedia and communications specialist.
And I'm Mike Stein, Assistant Manager of Adult Services. We talk about our favorite books, movies, services, and events with our favorite people and our favorite community. Each podcast will feature a theme. Today, we'll learn about a unique event celebrating Ohio's Nobel Prize winning author, Toni Morrison. We have two special guests today to talk with us about it. First is Britt Levitt, Literary Cleveland's project manager and the organizer of the statewide Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison event, which began last February and will continue through February 2027. And also with us is Cherie Campbell, local history and archives librarian at the Lorain Public Library System, where Morrison worked as a teenager. Cherie's involved with the library's Toni Morrison Reading Room, is also instrumental in getting Toni Morrison Day established in Ohio. Ladies, thanks for joining us on Checked Out.
Hello.
Good morning.
So let's start with you, Britt. First, tell us what Literary Cleveland is and why it's the spearhead for Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison.
So Literary Cleveland, if you're in Northeast Ohio, you know they're the go-to people for writing. They have amazing classes and do a lot of great work in our community. And along with Ohio Humanities, they came up with this idea of how could we celebrate our hometown hero, Toni Morrison, during America 250. And so they had an idea. If you line up all of Toni Morrison's 11 novels in chronological order, it tells America's history through Toni Morrison's lens. And so we are really excited to be in community all year with people from across the state, all 88 counties, to be able to celebrate Toni Morrison. And I'm from Oberlin and Lorain, so I'm Lorain County. So when I say hometown hero, I mean, the community in which helped shape Toni Morrison. And it's such an amazing opportunity to be able to do this.
And maybe one of you can give us a quick bio of Toni Morrison. Was she born in Lorain?
She was born there on February 18th, 1931. February 18th is Toni Morrison Day in Ohio. She was originally born as Chloe Wolford. Her parents were George and Rama Wolford. They were both children of the Great Migration North. They eventually settled in Lorain. Toni was one of 4 children, pretty famously worked at the library with her sister. She attended Lorain High School, graduated 1949, graduated from Howard, and she has a master's degree from Cornell. She got married. She was a college instructor. She had 2 children. She moved back to Lorain after the marriage ended very briefly. Then she moved to Syracuse to become a book editor. And then she moved to New York and became a book editor, but she also started writing, and she did not, she'd been writing, but she became really serious about her writing in her 20s and 30s. And she wrote her first novel, The Bluest Eye, in 1970, and then it was just the upward trajectory for her. She also was I mentioned the book editing. She was also one of the first African-American book editors at Random House, and she has gone on to win all the awards. We are developing a kiosk of her life and her achievements, and I just saw the longest list of her awards. It's huge. It's 4 very small type pages, but she won everything, and eventually she won the Nobel Prize in 1993, and I believe she's written, I can't remember the number of novels, Britt might remember, but I think it's like 13 novels, and she wrote a lot of nonfiction. She wrote essays. She was still doing some editing for a while. She's just, like I said, she wrote a play, she's written plays, she wrote a libretto for an opera. There pretty much wasn't anything she couldn't do if she set her mind to doing it, and she did it all beautifully. She died in New York in August of 2019. So that's kind of the very super basic summary of her life, but her achievements can go on for pages and pages. She's considered one of the best authors probably in American history at this point. If you read her books, they're still absolutely relevant. Her essays are absolutely relevant. She's easily one of the most amazing Ohioans we have. We're really, really proud of her. She never forgot Lorain. She visited here at least yearly. Her sons came back to, visit and kind of keep keep out of mom's hair probably in the, when they were growing up, so mom could work and write and do everything that she was doing. We have that reading room for her.
How did Ohio specifically shape her writing? I know plenty of her novels do mention the state.
hmm Yeah, I was just asked that for another interview for an America 250 project. Ohio was the first setting for her writings. Bluest Eye was based here, although it's a somewhat fictional Lorraine. She made it very clear it was based in Lorraine. We have Beloved, which is based in Cincinnati. We have Sula, which is also now that one is in a completely fictional town. Could have been anywhere in Ohio. She doesn't specify. Lorraine certainly had issues with racism and segregation, but it was not segregated in a rigid way that she found later when she went to Washington, D.C. and found a really rigid segregation. She used to steal signs there and signs of segregation there and actual postings, and she apparently mailed them to her mother, who her mother was an activist and a civil rights activist in Lorraine.
And I'll just jump in and say, growing up in Lorraine is such a community orientated place, right? That is super diverse. We call it, we have the international city, right? And so I think being close to Lake Erie, able to go visit Lakeview Park with her family, staying in the Ariel Broadway Hotel, downtown Lorraine that looks over the lake, those things, it's just beautiful. It's nature, right? It's community. They shape who you are. And so in different places in her novels, in her 11 novels, you can always just, I don't know, as an Ohioan, I can always pick up those Ohio things. And so it's really cool to be able to read it and be able to walk the streets that she walked as well, right? In those places that she talks about. I think in the Bluest Eye, she brings like Elyria. And so she talks about Oberlin. She talks about all of our county. And to think of what it was back then to compare what it is now, it's really beautiful.
And Britt, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the year-long celebration. Ohio celebrates Toni Morrison. You all kicked it off February 18th in Columbus with an event. You've got a monthly book club. I think you meet on Zoom and you're reading each of her novels once a month. What are some of the other events you have going on?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that people are being inspired to create in the communities all across Ohio. And so like you mentioned, Toni Morrison Day 2026 to Toni Morrison Day 2027. So far, like you mentioned, we've had over 700 people from across, I want to not just say Ohio, the nation, but also the globe, who have joined our virtual monthly book discussion. So once again, we're lining them up. We started with A Mercy. We've already done Beloved. We're doing Sula this month the last Sunday of every month at 7 p.m. Join us virtually. Dr. Brenda Smith has been amazing at leading these conversations. She kind of gives us the rundown beforehand with the guide so that people know what they're reading. I always say reading Toni Morrison is not challenging. It does challenge you, but it is really, really helpful to read Toni Morrison novels in community. And so that is what we're doing. We're really excited about that. But some of the other cool events that have came, I don't know if anybody's ever book bedazzled. I've book bedazzled, but at Woven Bookstore in Akron, they were able to host a book bedazzling. So we talked about Toni Morrison novels and how many we've read that we're intending to read. And I'm showing y'all, but it's just a really cool thing to be able to do. We've had lectures on college campuses. There are professors who are putting Toni Morrison's books and her works inside of the classroom. And to be able to see college students talk about that, I had the opportunity to go down to Athens with Dr. Jocelyn Brown and hear her students talk about the masculinity in her Black male characters, and then Appalachian living and what that type of how that hops up in her different works. And so those things are beautiful. Coming up, I think next week, there is a HBCU kickoff in Cincinnati where they have 100 students who are going to HBCUs in the fall. And thanks to Penguin Random House and Vintage, we're able to give all those students Toni Morrison novels. So to be gifted a Toni Morrison novel before you get ready to go off to college, I think is something powerful. And so we are always accepting event submissions. I think as of right now, there's been 89 events that have been submitted. And I know there's a whole bunch that are still in the queue. And so there's films that people are watching, the Toni Morrison Pieces I Am, or Beloved, or The Foreigner's Home, and just having conversations. And I think that is the whole point.
And the website that you can read all about these or log into the Zoom meetings, what's the website address?
Yeah, so if you visit Ohio Celebrates ToniMorrison.org, you can sign up for our monthly e-newsletter. It comes out the first Monday of every month that shows you what the events are, and we're giving resources. I know we talked a little bit about our kickoff event that was in Columbus, and Namwali Chappelle, she just released her On Morrison book, which is a great, if you need something to pair to read these novels with, I would recommend getting that book because she kind of breaks it down for you a little bit in there as well. But she just released the podcast on passages, and it's beautiful. So please visit the website.
So Ohio celebrates ToniMorrison.org, or you could search Literary Cleveland and probably get a list of the things that'll pop up as well, right?
Yeah, so Literary Cleveland, they're hosting some of their own events, and they are the main sponsor of this event. So yes.
And you just said something that I want to make sure I heard correctly because I never heard it before.
Yeah.
Afro-Latin? Is that what you said?
Appalachian,
I've
yes.
never heard that term. What is that?
So those are Black people who lived in Appalachia. And so, a lot of times there is a perspective of when we talk about Appalachia of a certain type of white person, but there are Black people that live in those places too. So shout out to Professor Brown. She is amazing. And the fact that she can break that down, and she's from West Virginia. So she is Appalachian. And so I know that there is a coalition that is being built in that part of the state.
It makes sense. It sounds like what I would think it means.
Yeah. I think I have a few relatives in West Virginia that would qualify for that.
Right.
I don't qualify as Appalachian, but I qualify as part Appalachian because my grandfather, one of my mother's father is from West Virginia, and I done my DNA. I think I must have 10,000 cousins in West Virginia because all those large families, and I come from rural Pennsylvania, so you get that kind of. Those kind of roots. So, but the African American experience in Appalachia is definitely it's different. So,
and some of her novels, experience some of that, and that's why those opportunities for students and other people to be able to participate in these things, and that's the good thing. That was a virtual event, and so not only are people hosting events in the different regions throughout the state, there are virtual opportunities where you can just go and listen. And so I would recommend, even if maybe it's during your workday, you can put it on and you can listen to it, tap in somewhere, because having these conversations and getting other people's perspectives are really important during this time. And it's a way that we use Toni Morrison as a catalyst for what's next. So please learn.
And speaking of events, Euclid Public Library will feature the novel Beloved on July 15th at 6 p.m. in our banned book club, which is open to adults and teens. So anyone in the Euclid, Ohio area, it would be great for you to come to the library and participate in that. What are other libraries doing?
I'm trying to think. Everybody's doing a little bit of everything, which is really, really cool. So some libraries are actually having in-person book discussions around the books that we're discussing virtually. So they may be reading Sula earlier in the month and then asking, the people who participated to join us virtually. I know there's a lot of different book reads. I know the Lorraine Library, they do an essay, or we used to do an essay contest. There's a poetry contest and a poster contest. I know there are tons of book, there's not just book, but there are movie screenings that they're doing, and then having panel discussions. And I know one of the libraries, not everybody does, but Toni Morrison has tons of children's books. And then there's also a lot of children's books written about her life. And so it's really cool to start to see that what's happening. And so we're seeing coloring pictures and kids who are doing all these cool things. And that's it, right? No matter what age you are, there is something to tap in. Always going to a public library. I love going to a library. And the ones that most of them are celebrating Toni Morrison. And so you can find a Toni Morrison novel or a children's book at any of your libraries.
And speaking of libraries, Lorraine Public Library has that fabulous Toni Morrison reading room. Could you tell us more about it?
Okay, the reading room came about after the Nobel Prize. People got really excited about it, as they should, and they were discussing renaming Broadway, renaming the Lorraine Palace Theater, which is a major landmark in downtown Lorraine, the high school maybe, the library maybe. And Toni heard about all of this, and she always kept in touch. Like I've said before, she always kept in touch, and she contacted Lorraine Journal and contacted the library and made clear that what she wanted from us was a reading room. And she wanted it from the library because she was always in touch with the libraries, knew how busy they were, but she always recognized the power of reading, the power of words, and she wanted a place for, but people need a place to think and sit and just work, read and just to, so that's what we got her. Nord Foundation in Amherst helped us fund it, helped us make her wish come true, and she came and dedicated in January of 1995. And she attended with the poet and her friend Sonia Sanchez. Really thrilling experience. We redecorated and rededicated it after she passed in 2019, and her local family attended the rededication. Then Senator Sherrod Brown had a speech. So, and it's still active as it is. We don't just use it for quiet reading. We use it for programs. Our African American community is very fond of the room, and they've hosted a lot of smaller gatherings there because it's not a large room. We have books donated by Toni in the room. She donated books in foreign languages. She donated a beautiful quilt painting, and you can go to our website at lorainpubliclibrary.org. We do have pictures of the room and a history of the room and a section of our website. You can take a look there. We've had people from all over the countries, almost all over the world, people from Japan, people from Europe. We've had some Toni Morrison scholars, but we just have a lot of regular, there's a lot of people like us who just come on in and look around the room, sit a while. We've had people come in the room and just, they knit. That's fine. That's great. Whatever pretty much. Well, there are definitely boundaries of what we do, but if you're just, it's wonderful to see the people, see people just sitting in the room. It's just a real experience. Last year I found something wonderful in the room. We have reference copies of her books, of course, and we have her books, of course, in the regular library as well. But these are reference copies that people can look at in the room, but not check out. And I opened up our copy of Beloved during a book discussion, and I found that she had signed it to us, dated January 22nd, 1995, which was when she came to to the dedication. And I had no idea what was in there. 30 years, and it had been there.
Wow.
I checked with our then director. I checked with our managers who organized the event, and they didn't know a thing. She just must have pulled it off the shelf when she was in the room, signed it. And she also had signed our copy of Tar Baby. So that was just really thrilling. And the copies are temporarily out of the room until we get them in a more secure place, because now that we know they're autographed, we don't want to, we don't want them, but they've been out for 30 years and nothing had happened. Yes, but people are trustworthy, but so that it's really amazing. We also do have other books that are autographed to us under her name of she almost never autographed under her name of Chloe, but she did autograph them to us as Chloe, a copy of The Bluest Eye, first edition, a first edition of Sula, and also autographed to us. And those are in a lock case. So along with various proclamations and other tributes to her from politicians and the community. So
And that's at the downtown.
Yeah, that's in the downtown library on 6th Street, 351 West 6th Street in Lorraine. The room is open almost all the hours the library is, unless it's being used for a meeting or a program.
That's where Toni worked as a teenager, as a page.
She worked there as a teenager. Yes, she did. She started.
But her library career didn't last, right?
It lasted. Cleveland.com had a recent headline where they said she was fired. That was her exaggeration. She really wasn't fired. She was just, let's just say, transferred to another position, because the problem was She was doing too much reading. So on the shelf, she'd pull up, she'd shelve a book, she'd pick up a book from from her book cart.
Mhm.
All shelvers use book carts, and she'd
Mhm.
pick it up and be looking at and get reading and absorbed in it. And this went on just apparently too many times for the librarians. So they thoughtfully decided that maybe this wasn't the best position for her, and they moved her to the director's office where she was processing books and where probably somebody could keep a little more of an eye on what she was doing. Her sister worked for us for several years in the director's office.
Well, I can understand that my first job in libraries was a page at Lakewood Library, and I would see so many books that I wanted to read and take a big stack home pretty much every day
I'm
that I
sure
was
she did
supposed to
that
put
too.
away. I'd check them out instead, and it's just my eyes were bigger than my eyes. I couldn't read them all.
And if you want to visit the actual building in which she was the librarian, that is now owned. That's where we have the Lorraine Historical Society, and so that's also where her historical marker is. And so I know one of the things that we're working on, whenever we finally get warm weather with sun, we're going to make sure that we're hitting those key places. If you are looking to come to Lorraine, which a lot of people are, just to take a visit, where are the top places that you should go? Yes, to the Lorraine Library, to the Toni Morrison Reading Room, to the Lorraine Historical Society's building to be able to see the historical marker. You can go to Oberlin, where there is her bench. And there's just awesome things. And so we'll be coming out with that information well. And then a couple other events that I was trying to look up and just want to make sure we talk about. And so I know that there's going to be a Toni Morrison community readout at the Shaker Heights Public Library on June 11th. And so that's an event coming up that people can participate in. And then I know once we get to the month of September, there will be a lot of events that are already stacking up. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, as our partners start to submit these things, what are the places that you should travel and when should you do them? We know that there will be a few different conferences during Book Fest. There will be themed around Toni Morrison, right? And then in September on the 19th, downtown Lorraine is the Firefish Festival, and the theme is freedom. And they use the quote, "The function of freedom is to free someone else," and that is from Ms. Morrison. And so, how can we pair art with visual art with Toni Morrison and be inspired? And so that'd be an awesome, awesome event to come to. And I hear that we're gonna have some open mic nights. And so you might be able to come to Lorraine this fall and stop in and be with the community that helped shape who she is. Some of her family members still reside in Lorraine today, and they're excited to hear about all these things, to participate in some of these things. And her niece Chloe has tons of ideas. And so we're trying to bring some of those ideas for Chloe to light. And so come to Lorraine.
And you can learn all about these events by going to OhioCelebrates.ToniMorrison.org. Just Google search Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison. If you can't remember that, Google search Literary Cleveland. And it really is Ohio Celebrates, because I see you got it broken down: Central, Northeast, Southeast,
Oh, yeah.
Southwest.
By region. Yep. And I would say too, so follow us on social media. So beloved Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison. You can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. But we do the roundup of events every month. We just started Tuesdays with Toni. So while you got to remember Toni Morrison, yes, she is a writer, but she was so many other things. She was a mother. She was a community member. She was an editor. She was a teacher, all these different things. And so there's always something in those different areas in which people are doing. So follow us on social media so that you can interact with us. But those Tuesdays with Toni are with Dr. Marilyn Mobley and Dr. Leah Lewis. And Dr. Marilyn Mobley is one of the founding members of the Toni Morrison Society. And so shout out to the Toni Morrison Society. They've been almost 30 years old, I believe, over 500 members, and they're tapping in too. I know they're somewhere at a conference doing some really great things. But once again, there are options to do things in person, but there's also options to be virtual. And these virtual events are bringing people in from all different places.
Now, is it fair to ask either one of you if you have a favorite Toni Morrison novel?
Yeah, I know I do. So I would say before this year, it was definitely Sula. And if the one cool thing, yes, I love a book like everyone else, but Toni Morrison reads these novels on Audible. So you can listen to her actually read them. So I've read this and heard this more times than I can count. But this year, I think for the first time, I read Paradise. And so I think Paradise might be my new favorite, but like I said earlier, I didn't read that in Community. So I don't know if it's my favorite yet. We got to wait till we're having this Paradise book discussion. And then after I do that, it might be my new favorite.
And I love Sula. I also like Home. That's one of her later novels, and it's about a veteran going back, but returning to the South. And it's a much shorter book. It's maybe more accessible to some folks than some of her others. But I don't. There's not a book I don't love. I do want to mention her books are available on the library app Libby. Everything except The Bluest Eye is recorded on audio, all by Toni herself, and she is the most beautiful reader. She had that theater background, she has that beautiful voice, and she even when she was in her 80s, she was still recording books, and that's a grueling process to record books. But the New York Times wrote about that, and I was just like, that is just. She never stopped. She really never stopped working, and she never almost probably was writing till she was writing till almost the very end of her life. So yeah, go forth and read the book and then listen to the audio. It's whichever. We're definitely not going to discourage reading, but listening is my thing too. And I just love to listen to her. It's just even if I'm not, I just sometimes just put her on. Just listen to the book. Maybe I'm not getting into the plot, but I'm just listening to her voice, and it's just taking me places. So.
And we always want people to use the library, use the resources of the library, check out the books, use the e-media. But Brittany, you were holding up a couple copies that look like newer versions.
Yeah.
If you want to own them, is that some kind of special imprint, or what are the copies that are still in
so
print
they
for
are
her?
re-releasing. Okay, yeah. So they are re-releasing all 11 novels, and they've re-released 8 of them, I believe, at this point. But all of them have really cool cover art, really cool new forwards from different authors, and it's really cool. We've had Dr. Imani Perry join us. She wrote the new forward for A Mercy, but it's not released yet. And then we had Professor Honore Jeffers join us for Beloved. So she wrote the new forward for Beloved, and to just hear why those are their favorite books is super powerful. And I know in September we're reading Song of Solomon, and that Tarari Jones is the one who wrote the foreword for that. So she will be joining us for that as well.
Very cool.
Wonderful. Now, I know that Toni Morrison is Ohio's only Nobel laureate for literature.
Mm-hmm.
Where is her Nobel Award housed?
I'm assuming it's with her son. She has one living son. She had 2 sons. She had Ford and Slade. I should say Ford is Harold Ford Morrison. Slade died about 15 years ago. I'm assuming it's with her son. I would assume it's with her son. So.
So it isn't somewhere in the museum.
It is not in Ohio. It's definitely not the library. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I will mention that, we're lucky to have Ford and Toni Morrison's granddaughter join us for the kickoff. So they joined us in Columbus, and we were able to go to the State House where there was a resolution passed to honor this year of Toni Morrison. And so in the times like this, where not a lot of things we all agree upon in our State House, it was powerful to have him in our presence. And it's his mom, and so he has pride, and he is really grateful and thankful that we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And as we wrap up here, we're with Brittany Lovett, Literary Cleveland's project manager and the organizer of the statewide Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison events, and Sherry Campbell, local history and archives librarian at Lorraine Public Library. Is there anything else that you want to let us know about Toni Morrison or the events coming up over the next several months?
I'm just going to say we are planning a lot of local events in conjunction to family, as Britt mentioned a minute ago. Everything is very much still in the works. There is more, as Britt said, there's more coming. Like I said, the library has definitely not stepped out on this. We are just planning more events. We're also getting a digital kiosk. Eventually, hopefully, much more material on Toni will be up. It'll be in front of the Morrison room. It's actually there right now, and we're very excited about getting that fully up and running. Just stay tuned and watch your website. Events are being added all the time, and don't worry, Lorraine is not slacking. We are always focused on Toni, And we've been doing those events every year, and we're just very excited about this. We've been involved almost since the beginning, and it's just wonderful to see her recognized. This celebration is a precursor to her centennial in 2031, and there's going to probably be 10 as next few years roll on, go on. We'll be focusing on that as well. So that's all just going to be very exciting. We're always going to have Toni. That's just, she's just always going to be with us, whether she's on this earth or not. And I hope she would be very pleased with what we're doing. I believe she would be.
I keep saying this is a marathon, not a sprint. And so what we're doing this year is we're building a system, right? There hasn't been a statewide celebration of someone to this magnitude where, once again, we already have almost 100 events that have been planned for the year, with over 50 of them already happening. And so ways that you can get involved, you can attend events both in person or virtually. You can join our virtual book club that we have, where we're going over all 11 novels the last Sunday of the month at 7 p.m. You can sign up for our monthly newsletter, which always has all the events for the month. It gives you a recap and photos of what people are doing across the state. We do have a merch store. So there are some really cool, and I want to show, there's some really cool stuff. I call it my book bag because I only put books in it. But it's a really cool tote. We have sweatshirts, crew neck. We just got a couple of new items, a mug and a notebook, but you can visit the merch store. You can follow us on social media, interact with us. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say too much, but we may or may not be giving away some giveaways soon. So following us on social media might be something cool you want to do. You can volunteer and help. Hey, these organizations, whether it's libraries, your college institutions, your nonprofits, your art people, sometimes it's just a one-person show, and they are hosting events in their community. So we're always looking for volunteers to help with them, and you can donate to support. And so, everybody is kind of rallying around and supporting as these things are happening. But to be able to purchase books for students or help for this, all of that is possible. So you can learn more at OhioCelebratoNiMorrison.org, and feel free to send me an email at ToniMorrison@litcleveland.org if you have any questions or want to know how to get involved. We're always here to help.
Well, thank you both so much for coming today and telling us about this amazing event. And I'm looking forward to what's coming up later this year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Now it's time for the library news you cannot use.
If you've got $20 and a bottle of Prego pasta sauce, you could be en route to the Library of Congress. According to fastcompany.com, the Campbell's Soup-owned pasta sauce is teaming up with the nonprofit StoryCorps to record your dinner-time conversations, which will ultimately be preserved in StoryCorps' archives via the Library of Congress. The Connection Keeper bundle includes some Prego sauce, a recording device that looks like a pasta sauce lid, and some conversation cards to prompt discussion. If you're interested in recording anything for the Library of Congress, from telling your kids to finish their spaghetti or they're going to bed without any dessert, to praising mom's lasagna, visit campbells.com for the details.
All right, Gene, I'll be over for your Chicken Alfredo special soon. We can record our conversation for the Library of Congress.
All right.
So you've probably never heard of Nishemi, a town in Sicily, but I'll bet you've heard of firefighters rescuing cats from trees. Well, how about firefighters rescuing books from falling over a cliff? That happened in Nishemi when a landslide tore away part of the town that stands on a mountainside, leaving the library and its holdings mere feet from being next to tumble down. According to TheGuardian.com, the rescue mission saw firefighters drill through the wall of a building behind the library, entering the library, and then strapping together many bookcases before dragging them out. In all, firefighters have rescued about 400 rare books, which included many editions of Sicilian history dating back to the 1800s and beyond. Thank goodness the Euclid Library stands on flat ground.
Yes, we are so lucky for that.
Thanks for listening to Checked Out. You can learn more about Euclid Public Library by stopping in or going to our website, euclidlibrary.org.